Samuel Okudjata-Blaka is the Member of Parliament for North Tongu constituency in the Volta region, and today he has run to CHRAJ. Question is why. I remember you called some of the disturbances that happened during the December 2020 elections at Techiman South, for example, or Blekuma, or the Dodio in some part of the country where individuals got hurt or injured. Some even lost their lives in the process. Honorable, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Quickly, you've run to CHRAJ. Specifically, what are you asking CHRAJ to do as far as this issue of electoral violence is concerned?
Yeah, thank you very much. I can confirm that the Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa and my good self have today successfully filed a complaint with the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, invoking the jurisdiction of CHRAJ to go into the gross human rights violations that occurred in the December 7, 2020 elections. You do know that Article 218 of the 1992 Constitution cloaks CHRAJ with a mandate to investigate human rights violations. It is our contention, which is very, very clear, very obvious. Indeed, all the observer reports, domestic observers, international observers, decried the level of violence and the killings that happened during the December 2020 elections. It is those grave human rights violations which we want investigated. So we are asking CHRAJ to carry out a thorough, proper, and adequate investigation into those matters. We want the perpetrators of those heinous crimes that led to the killing of at least 7 of our compatriots brought to justice. We must not create the impression in this country that during elections, people have the license to kill and that they can kill anybody they want and get away with it. We are also asking for all those in the chain of command who issued instructions, gave orders for these heinous crimes to be committed, to be identified and brought to justice. We are also demanding adequate compensation for the victims.
Compensation for the victims.
Compensation for the victims, particularly the families of the deceased, and then those who are alive. We have identified them. They have been well chronicled. We are in touch with them. And it's been a great deal of hell in terms of their medical ordeal. Some of them are struggling to still pay medical bills. Some of them have undergone multiple surgeries. Some of them have had life-changing impact. They are no longer economically viable in terms of being able to work, be productive. There's a gentleman in Techiman South whose left arm has been declared redundant after multiple surgery. There's nothing he can do with his left arm. We are saying that there ought to be compensation for all of these people. You see, this is a democracy. It is important for rule of law to work. It is crucial that as we hope to conduct elections every 4 years, we do not approach the next election with apprehension, where citizens will live in fear, constant and real, palpable fear, that even if I am killed, even if I am attacked, assaulted, shot at, I'm maimed, I lose a limb, nothing will happen, and the perpetrators will go scot-free and be walking around and will live to carry that out again. That is what we call impunity. Impunity will now reign and nobody will feel safe. And this democracy will be undermined. We cannot have a peaceful and stable country, which has been our greatest selling point. Why a lot of investors, there's all of this international applause that we get. It's because of our stability, our peaceful environment, which we must work hard to guard and protect.
But Honorable, you're a member of parliament. You have a lot of tools available to you. Did you resort to other avenues in getting the progress and the status of this investigation before going to CHRAJ? Because the minister himself is a member of parliament and he's with you. The defense minister himself is also a member of parliament and with you in the chamber.
So it is important to place on record that so far, some of us in the House, as members of parliament, have not been impressed, at the very least, of how the ministers responsible have responded to this matter.
You mean defense and interior?
The ministers responsible for defense and the interior. When they appeared before us, you recall that I made it a crusade of a sort to find out, first of all, if investigations have commenced. None whatsoever. The transcripts are there. No committee has been set up to investigate these matters.
But you called the police as they were investigating the matter.
Except vacuous promises that they will be investigated. Now, even beyond investigations, more than a month after this incident, when they appeared before us at the appointments committee, they had not even visited the victims. They had not even attended to the families of the deceased and expressed some empathy as human beings. So it's clear to me, and if you add that to the example that the overall boss has set, our president, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who refuses to talk about this, who refuses to condemn these atrocities, as the chief beneficiary of the elections of December 7, 2020, I would have thought that it is in his interest to let the whole world know that he doesn't want his victory to be tainted by the spilling of blood. And that when he had the first opportunity in his closing State of the Nation address, he will have at least spoken to these matters. He refused to say a word. He had a second opportunity in the second message on the State of the Nation, which he rendered at the beginning of his second term. He would not say a word. When we push further, you recall the first deputy speaker said, oh, if some criminals have been killed, we should stop disturbing them. I mean, and I was outraged at that statement, as many Ghanaians were. I mean, extrajudicial killings. These are civilians who were only observing the counting of polls at the collation centers. They were unarmed. They were hapless, helpless civilians who had not provoked any officer, any security agent to warrant this. Even if there was some provocation, and we have reviewed the videos, we have footage that we have compiled, and in carrying out this work, we have been amazed at the level of evidence available, that for more than 7 months, the police and national security apparatus we claim to be investigating cannot even give us an update. The number of video footage, the volume of video footage from you in the media, I mean, Joint News has been fantastic. I mean, if you look at Techimansa, you look at Ablekuma Central, you have footage. I mean, amateur productions. In this digital age, people have smartphones and they are always capturing what is going on. All of this available, and yet officialdom claims to be investigating, and yet not a word. I hold in my hands here the statement that the National Election Security Task Force issued on the 10th of December, where they confirmed the killings. At the time, they said 5 deaths recorded during the election 2020. But somebody like Ibrahim Abbas of Ablekuma Central was battling for his life. Subsequently, he died. So the numbers went up. But this is their own statement, the 10th December 2020 statement. The National Election Security Task Force deems the incidents recorded to be incidents that could have been avoided, and therefore condemns their occurrence and promises to investigate each of them.
But that
National
investigation
Election
you are
Security
told
Task Force.
is ongoing. The investigation you are told is ongoing. So why don't you wait for the police to conclude the investigation on these issues before you run to CHRAJ?
We first of all, as members,
You don't believe the police will do a good job?
As members of Parliament,
Right.
we've run our checks. We don't believe there's any credible investigation going on.
You don't believe there's any credible investigation going on?
We don't believe there's any credible
The
investigation.
Ghana Police Service is not investigating the death
There is no
we recorded during the election?
There is no credible investigation going on. And we do not even think that the police should be investigating itself in this matter. In a matter that they are so culpable, so guilty as sin, we do not believe that they should be investigating themselves. It's so incestuous. The conflict of interest is glaring. We take the view that CHRAJ is an independent body. It has no vested interest. It is neutral. It is far removed from these matters. And they have the constitutional mandate. They should be allowed to investigate. That is our view. We do not have any confidence that some credible investigation will be carried out by a Ghana Police Service, which, as we speak, cannot even interdict. You see officers shooting into crowds. What happened to professional training on crowd control?
You don't know the internal directives and measures put in place to deal with the perpetrators of this act.
This is a matter of...
Have you checked with the IGP?
This is a matter of enormous public interest.
Right.
It is not for us to be going into the police service to find out about internal arrangements. If there had been an interdiction on this matter, some sanctions, they will have issued a statement, they will have made it public. Nothing has happened. People are being shielded. The commander-in-chief refuses to talk about this matter. And an impression is being created in this country that during elections, you can kill people and get away. I hold in my hands the medical reports, and you will be outraged, my brother, about the medical reports of these victims. This is a medical report on morbidity on Abdallah Ayarik. This is from the National Catholic Health Service Diocese of Techiman, the Techiman Hospital.
Right.
Date of admission, 8 December 2020. Time reported, 19 hours GMT. The above named person, Abdallah Ayarik, 18 years, was rushed to emergency unit at approximately 19 hours GMT on 8 December 2020. On initial assessment, patient was unresponsive. Bleeding from ear, nose, and throat. Puncture wounds to upper body, neck, and back. Upper body, neck, and back. They didn't even shoot legs. These are people shooting to kill. Upper body, neck, and back. Metallic object. Pellets dislodged from the puncture wounds on body. Vitals unrecordable, absent. No cardiorespiratory activity. Pupils fixed and dilated. Impression, clinically dead. RIP. Brought in dead. Plan, inform relatives, take to morgue, RIP. Thank you, sincerely yours. And this is signed by Dr. Ninang Tobias, Emergency Medicine. Then you have the medical report on morbidity of Mohammed Tajuddin, 43 years, sex male. Date of admission, 8 December 2020. Time reported 4 p.m. Presenting complaint, breathlessness, penetrating neck injury, primary survey, airway compromise, tracheal injury, breathing inadequate, bilateral chest injuries. Assessment, patient underwent resuscitation. Bilateral chest tubes passed, taken to ICU. At 19:30 hours, patient condition deteriorated and was declared clinically dead, RIP. Dr. Ninan Tobias signs. This is what our compatriots went through.
But there's a new IGP.
And our country cannot take action, cannot seek justice for these people.
And that's why I'm making the point here. There's a new IGP acting, Dr. Ekufo-Dampah. I'm sure he's a very good friend. Are you willing to take this matter to him to, find out what steps he's going to take to ensure that those behind these incidents are punished?
Well, clearly the new IGP has a lot of work to do to redeem the image of the Ghana Police Service. Oh. But these are matters that are way above only the IGP. Because you know that there was a national election security task force, as they were known. And officers were drawn from
Ghana Police Service, the immigration, the fire service.
and the Ghana Armed Forces.
Right.
So it's not a matter that is solely in the domain of the police, though I will admit that the IGP also has work to do on redeeming the image of the police. However, this is a matter that is cross-cutting, and that is why CHRAJ is best placed to conduct these investigations. So I would not go see the new IGP. I believe that CHRAJ should be given room, given all the support to carry out these investigations. And I have no doubt that if CHRAJ is allowed, no interference, no effort to sabotage them or to place impediments in their way, they have the capacity, they have such a fine reputation, is well regarded, is one of the foremost human rights ombudsman institutions anywhere in the world, well respected. I have no doubt that they can execute this mandate and present to us a report that will help our democracy, that will even help improve how election security should be conducted in subsequent elections. So let's allow the process to run its course. Let's allow CHRAJ to do its work. There should be no impediments. There should be no attempt to interfere. Yes, I know some of these ministers are powerful ministers, but you cannot...
Is it your suspicion that they would, is likely that they will interfere in the work of the
You cannot be more powerful than the Constitution, than constitutional bodies. And you see, we need strong institutions, and strong, not only strong institutions, but strong personnel who man these institutions, who should assert the authority. They are protected by our laws, and they should carry out their mandate without fear or favor. They should not be intimidated at all. And I have every confidence in CHRAJ, that CHRAJ will do a good job, and that Mr. Joe Whittle, who has a reputation to protect, will ensure that this high-profile matter, which many Ghanaians are looking forward to the outcome of their report, they will present a report which is credible, which will inspire public confidence.
So how soon are you expecting CHRAJ to conclude on this investigation and submit a report?
Well,
do you have a timeline?
I certainly have no timelines. I mean, CHRAJ is an independent body. We cannot dictate to them, except that I expect them to carry out an expeditious work. I expect their work to be credible, and they should be thorough. Fortunately, it is my view that we've made their work quite easy because we have all these medical reports from the hospitals. We have all this video footage. You see, very clear evidence of people purporting to be security officials shooting into crowds and taking aim at people. We know it when you are firing warning shots in a particular angle. And we know when you are firing to kill. We can see all of this evidence has been made available. And we have also stated that we have witnesses, a long list of witnesses who are ready, willing to testify and assist CHRAJ in their investigation. So we are ready. We've done our work. You can see that it's a very thorough research. Our lawyers have been on this case for months. And we believe that in the national interest, in the interest of the peace and stability of this country, in the interest of the sustenance of our democracy and this fourth republic, CHRAJ should live up to his constitutional mandate. CHRAJ should not let the people of this country down. And CHRAJ should not let all these persons who have died, they shouldn't die in vain. The youth of our country should not lose confidence in our institutions and in this democracy and begin to take the law into their own arms. We don't want that. We don't want anybody taking the law into their own hands. Let our institutions do their work. CHRAJ should make the people of this country proud. That's all we ask of them.
And finally for me, talking about CHRAJ has to do with work and all of that. There's a conversation about the NDC equally taking a chunk of the blame with regards to particularly the violent incident at Techiman South. We are told that it was the NDC party there within the constituency which asked the supporters to mass up at the collation center. Is the party equally ready to take that blame?
You are a journalist, a senior one at that, and you know how elections are conducted in this country. What stops any voter from being at the collation center? Are collations not done publicly in this country?
Right.
I'm not confirming the claims you are making, but even if they were true, that a particular political party asks their supporters to go to the collation center, what is wrong with that? Are voters not encouraged to be at collation centers to observe proceedings? It's always been, it's actually one of our highlights, which in multiple observer reports, we are commended about how open and transparent elections are in Ghana. We are not like some banana republics where people go and hide, under the cover of darkness and then come and announce something which is totally different. In Ghana, we all come together. 1, 2, 3. I was at the Bato Catholic Social Center in North Tongu, where our collation was done. I was there. Does that mean me too? I was fomenting trouble or I was acting against the laws of Ghana? Nothing. There's nothing in our laws or in our, CI's governing elections that stops people. And if you watch the video footage, these are people who were nicely barricaded at the Brochampim Social Hall. Barricaded nicely. They were just asking for results to be declared.
Right.
They were not armed. They did not break the barricades. They were very peaceful. The video footage is there. The media reported this widely. And then these, I don't know if they are even proper, because you see, if you look at the reputation of our security agencies, the Ghana Armed Forces in particular, how they are well regarded. The United Nations holds our armed forces in high esteem. Their level of professionalism, particularly on peacekeeping missions, when other countries, their forces are engaged in all kinds of excesses, atrocities, human rights violations. Our armed forces, very professional. Our peacekeeping troops, very professional. So they are well regarded. So I'm even wondering if all of these people who perpetrated these acts are really officers who were well commissioned, who are known, to their superiors. I'm really wondering. And who gave those instructions? Who gave those orders for them to fire, shoot and kill?
You want to investigate all of that.
That is why we need an investigation for you and I, because journalists, you also play very active roles during election. That's why you are part of the people who even are allowed to vote prior to December 7th. You are part of the special voters. And we are all not safe. If what happened on December 7, 2020 becomes acceptable, can you imagine the impunity? And how anybody, we don't like Joy FM's reports, what you are filing, you are exposing too much, it's too transparent. We want our candidate to win, you are reporting the true facts that this candidate is losing, another candidate is in the lead. And then they take aim at you. And there will be no investigation. They walk scot-free. They get away with it. The president will not say a word. As commander-in-chief, as chairman of the National Security Council, we don't want a banana republic. That cannot be accepted. This is not the country Osagyefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and all the others fought and toiled. We've never said there has been no election in our history that 7 people have been killed. No election. Check from 92. Even when they said, is this a military people taking over, military people who have just changed, dropped their uniform, and are learning to be Democrats. We didn't see this happen. So this cannot go unnoticed. It cannot go unpunished. And perpetrators cannot be left off the hook.
Right. Mr. Ablaka, thank you very much. Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablaka is a member of parliament for North Tongu constituency. And clearly, he wants CHRAJ to probe and fish out all individuals who were who contributed to the electoral violence during the 2020 December 7 election. I am Kwesi Parker-Wilson, and this is Joy News.